All right, so today's video is going to look at testing a battery in the car and then possibly replacing the battery. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we have to remove this cover on this particular model vehicle. Batteries are located in different spots with cars. This one is a little bit hidden, but easy to get to. So if you look over here, you'll see there's a little clip here. So I'm just going to pop that clip up. And then on this side, there's a little clip, and you just push this clip in. And when you do those two things, this module will pop out. And you're just going to rest it to the side here so that you can see the battery. And here you have the negative terminal because it's black, and there you have the positive terminal because it's red. And what we want to do first is we're going to test just to see, using our multimeter, that we want to set to direct current, and we're going to put it at 20 volts there. It should be plenty enough. But if you see here, we're going to just tap our black lead to the black terminal and the red lead to the red terminal. And right now this battery is showing about 12.36. You really want to be, I think, somewhere around 12.7 or so. I know that this battery isn't necessarily holding a charge, and so, but it will charge. The alternator, when it's running, will charge it, but it will definitely not hold a charge if I'm not running the engine. So just with that, I know if I start the engine, the multimeter after the initial load will go to about 14 volts. And because it does that, because it goes to 14 volts, I know that the alternator is working and is charging it. So it's more likely the battery that's just starting to die. So with that in mind, I'm going to replace this particular battery. And there's a bit of an order that we'll have to do. Now, if you look, I am wearing gloves. It's important to wear gloves. And I am wearing eyewear. And these leads are pretty good. You don't see a lot of rust or corrosion on this, so it shouldn't be too bad. There is, if you look right in here, there's a bolt, and every battery will usually have some kind of bolt that holds it in place. Some will have a metal strap that goes over the top, or whatever the case may be. So I'll probably spray a little bit of WD-40 in that bolt just to loosen it up. Maybe a little bit on these, but they look pretty good. So I'm gonna go get my tools and I'll be right back. Okay, so I've got a WD-40. It's a lubricant and a degreaser. So I'm just going to spray a little bit on that bolt in there. Doesn't need very much, I think, because I don't see a lot of corrosion or anything, but that'll penetrate, and I'll put a little bit on these just to help it out a bit while I'm doing the other bolt. That'll help me loosen those up, just in case there's anything in there, okay? Right, and you want to make sure that you have the right tools to do this, and something that'll reach in to be able to take that out, if you're able to see that. So just turning counterclockwise. It's pretty easy for that to come out, it seems. Like I said, I didn't notice a lot of corrosion on this one, so just lifting that out, reaching in, see if I can undo the rest with my fingers. Seems that I can. That's the last of it. Yeah, and you'll see that this little gadget here is what actually holds the battery in place so that it doesn't move around on you. So no rust, good shape. So I'm just going to set that aside for a moment. All right, now it's important when you take your battery off that you want to do the negative first and then the positive. And when you put it back on, you want to put the positive and the negative back on. Okay, so I've got the right socket here. It's a 10mm one, and so just I'm gonna place it here on my negative battery lead. And you can see again, it wasn't very corroded, so it's probably going to come off quite easily in terms of the bolt itself. And you can see it's starting to loosen up there. I'm just going to set that aside. There we go, pops off. All right. Now you want to make sure you set that aside. So not going to make contact. And we're going to do the same thing with this side. There we go. I'm just giving it a little tap as well, will help it out. There we go. And so we're going to set that aside over here as well. Okay? Okay, so with the cables aside, batteries are generally pretty heavy. Some of them have like a handle that you can attach, or that comes with the battery and it's easy to lift out. This one doesn't seem to have one. So I'm just going to lift this up from here, get underneath it, and then pop it out. Okay? Okay, so I've removed the battery, and you can see the battery holder. It's got a little bit of debris in there. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to, grab some of this stuff out and just clean it out. I mean, you're in there anyway, so we want to clean it out as best we can. And I do have this can of compressed air. I'll just give it a quick spray. So just get that out. You'll see there's a bit of dust as it comes out. Okay. All right, so there's the new battery that I'm going to drop in there. And you can see it's got a handle, so much easier to deal with, but fits in there quite nicely. So you see this particular battery has a cover on the positive lead, and it's got this little instruction booklet, not really a booklet, like a sticker, and just basically says, hey, connect the tubes and install the battery. Not very good instructions, but nevertheless something to look at. So I'm just popping off the positive lead because we need to expose that, and it's just this cover you don't really I don't think we really need to keep it, but I may put it back on if it fits, just for safety purposes. One thing I like to do when I install the battery is writing the date that you installed it, just for your own reference, because you're going to keep your receipt and other papers, but at the same time it's a quick look, and I just use a Sharpie on that. So I'm going to go ahead and start connecting. Oh yeah, before I do that, the leads are pretty good, but what I want to do is just take a little bit of this petroleum jelly and just put it on the inside of the leads, just for future, keeps it lubed, right? Put some on there too. You don't need a lot of this on there, but anyways, you see that. So I've done that. Put that aside for a moment, and take my socket wrench here again, and this time going the other way. I'm gonna start putting it back together, tighten it up there a little bit. You want to over tighten it, just tight enough that it's not going to come off, because at some point you may have to take it off. You don't want to have a hard time doing that. So same thing with the other one. Just take a little bit of the petroleum jelly, and I'm just using a Q-tip to to do that with. Now again, if these were rusted in any way, you could take a little bit of sandpaper and a toothbrush, even with some baking soda. I know some folks have done that. There, testing. Okay, so that's in, and I'm going to use the same process here as I did with the last one. Just going to tighten that back up by hand for a moment. Get that going. Right. And same thing. Tight, well, not tight enough. Now this is not gonna fit back on, but it's okay. This is too high, so it's not gonna fit on because we do have this cover for here. Sometimes you'll see they're wrapped or some other thing. What I'm gonna do is just change my socket here, and then we're gonna tighten that bolt to secure the battery back in. All right. Now I know before I'll start it off with my hand just because it's a little faster. All right. And we'll get her going. Still better to finish it off with my hand here first. All right, now I can start tightening it up there. Again, much like the leads, you want to make sure that you're not over tightening, because at some point you'll want to take it off. All right, now I know that we had sprayed some WD-40 on here before, but I'm just going to do that again. Just a little spray. A little spray there. And spray on the leads. Just for future. Won't do any damage to it. Alright, okay. Okay, with everything secure, I'm just gonna pop, in this case with this particular battery, I'm gonna pop this back on. Snap it back into place, make sure everything is secure so you don't get any rattling or anything in the engine when you're driving. And you can see both sides. You hear the little pop and the snap. And that's it. So now, that's it. There you go. It's started back up. Now I did cover up the positive terminal there, but they always have a lead, so you can always check with a multimeter how things are going. So on this one, it has a lead extension. So if I touch these two extension ports, you'll see on the multimeter. If you look at the multimeter, it's about 14.87. And because it's above the 12.8 or so, that tells you that the alternator is still working. So that part is good. So that's it really. We're just gonna cover that up, and that's the replacement of a battery.